Okay, you're back. Today we're going to talk about parenthetical citations. I mentioned these a little bit in class today on Friday the 27th, but I don't think we talked a ton about them in A4. We talked about them more in A1. So hopefully this will help you figure out how to do parenthetical citations. We're going to go through a couple of examples, and I'm going to tell you the meaning and all of that kind of stuff. So buckle up, here we go. All right, a parenthetical citation is also called an in-text citation because it occurs in the text of your paper as opposed to a footnote, which in some styles occurs like in a big list at the end of your paper. So we don't do footnotes in MLA, we do in-text citations. So every time that you use a fact from a source, it has to be cited. This is how you avoid plagiarism. You have to give credit for every single fact that you use in your paper that comes from another source. So they are called parenthetical citations / in-text citations, and you will often you can tell it's Friday afternoon. You can often see me use the abbreviation PC because, frankly, a parenthetical citation is just way too long to type all the time. So a parenthetical citation is called that because parenthetical means in parentheses. You can see that if we take the word parenthetical and we interrupt it here, we end up with parentheses. So parenthetical is an adjective that just means in parentheses. And a citation is just a reference to something else, which in this case is the source that you are referring to. Okay, so a parenthetical citation is composed of the author's name, and it also contains the page number of the source. Now, I know that a lot of you used websites, and those websites don't have page numbers. That's okay. We're going to deal with that. Okay, so if there is no author, that's one of the substitutions that we have to make. If there's no author's name that goes with your source, you're going to use a major word, as in not a, an, or the, or anything like that, that is unique to that title in your source list. Okay, so if I have to refer to a work by a word in its title, there should be no question once I go to the source list which source that is. That should be a word that is only in one of the source's titles. Okay, sometimes you have to get creative. So if you don't have an author, that's what you do. And if you don't have numbered pages, what you do is you just omit the page number. You just ignore it. All right, you just leave it out. Where a page number would normally be, there's just not going to be anything. Okay, there will only be an author's name or the title word. The other thing that you need to know about parenthetical citations is that if they are in the sentence, if that information appears in the writing of the sentence, they do not appear in the parenthetical citation. Okay? If you have written the author's name into the sentence somehow, then you do not need to put the author's name in the parenthetical at the end of the sentence. If you have worked the page number in to the sentence, then the page number does not need to appear in the parenthetical citation. And if both of those pieces of information are written into the sentence, then that means that you do not need to have a parenthetical citation at all. Okay, so we're going to look at some of those examples too. So here we go, examples to follow. Are you ready? Okay, so here is a piece of data. I'm going to pause real quick and tell you, I meant to tell you at the beginning of the video, this document is already available to you. It is also in the Miss E's examples folder that I have shared with you. And there it is right there, and it is called Parenthetical Citations. So you can either find it there or you can search for it by its name, Parenthetical Citations. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so here is my piece of data from my essay on the year-round school calendar. And this piece of data says that on a year-round calendar, parents don't need to find 10 weeks of childcare. Now, you guys are high school students. I know you don't need childcare, but if your parent, when you were younger, your parents had little kids, and if they were both working, well, your parents had to find something to do with you for 2.5 months. And on a year-round calendar, those breaks are a lot shorter, and that problem becomes a little bit easier to solve. But this fact has not been cited in any way. I don't have any name or page number so that the person who's reading my paper can find out what source this idea came from. And it actually came from this awesome source called Go Year Round that was written by, who else? Ryan Newman. And of course, it's on page 31. Do you know why it's on 31? You figure it out. Okay, so that is what a parenthetical citation looks like. It always appears at the end of a sentence. It comes after the last word of the sentence with a space, but before the period in the sentence. Okay, you need to know that. Also, notice that in this parenthetical citation, there is no comma between Newman and 31. And there is also no PG period, no P period that means page. It just has the last name, a space, and the number of the page. That's it, nothing else. Don't add anything into it, and make sure that your punctuation for your sentence is appearing after the parenthetical. You think that might be on a quiz? I bet it'll probably be on a quiz. Okay, so that's what it looks like when you have to put both pieces of information into a parenthetical citation for a piece of data that you have paraphrased into your own words. But I told you that if the author's name appears in the sentence, then you don't need a parenthetical that includes the author's name. You just need one that includes the page number. And so that's what that looks like. Okay? I have changed the sentence and now it says Newman points out that on a year-round calendar, parents don't need to find 10 weeks of childcare. Again, I have a space after childcare. Then I have my parenthetical, which contains only the page number. I don't need the author's name because the author's name is in the sentence. And then I close the parentheses and I punctuate the sentence with a period after. Got it? I also told you that in some cases, you can omit needing a parenthetical at all. And here I have done that. In this sentence, it says on page 31, Newman points out that on a year-round calendar, parents don't need to find 10 weeks of childcare. I don't have a parenthetical on this sentence at all because both the name and the page number have been written into the sentence itself. Okay, got it? Okay, this assumes that somewhere else in the paper I've made it clear maybe the title of the source that I'm referring to, or I've given it some context so that it doesn't sound weird that I'm saying on page 31. All right, my author at this point would know that I'm talking about a particular work that's got page numbers, okay? All right, so that's how you do it when your data is paraphrased. That means when it's been put into your own words. But I told you guys that you could also have quotations in your paper. You could have up to about 4 of them, right? You needed to keep your quoted material at 10% or less. That was our rule. So a parenthetical citation in a quotation is done in pretty much the same way. Let's say that this very thing that I said I had paraphrased was actually a quotation. Now it's in quotation marks because I'm quoting the illustrious Dr. Ryan Newman in his groundbreaking book on child development called Go Year Round. Okay, so I have taken a quote from him and I've said on a year-round calendar, parents don't need to find 10 weeks of childcare, just like I did before. And because his name and his page number are not written into the sentence, I have a parenthetical. But please notice how it's punctuated. Okay? I have closed the quotations after the last word of the quote. Then I've made a space. Then I've put the parenthetical citation. And then finally I've put the period. Okay? Now the same rules apply when we're working the name or the page number into the sentence. Okay? Same thing as above. Child development expert Dr. Ryan Newman says on a year-round calendar, blah, blah, blah. So I don't need to repeat his name again in the citation, I just need the page number. But once again, I have closed the quotes, I've written a space, I've got the parenthetical, and then I've written the period to my sentence. This will appear on a quiz. You can count on it. Do it correctly. Write this down somewhere. Take this note. Get it into your outline on your quotations, just the way that it's done here so that you don't make that mistake. Okay? And finally, just like we did with the paraphrase, if I have a sentence where both the name and the page number are worked into the sentence, then I don't need a parenthetical at all. And in that case, the quotation ends just the way you would expect it to normally. Okay, the period goes inside the quotation marks the way that it always would when you were making a quotation. Okay, You only monkey with the punctuation of the sentence when there is a parenthetical present, and then it has to be done in these particular ways. Got it? Okay, now a bunch of you have got sources where not only is there not necessarily page numbers, but there might not even be an author. Okay, so let's say that Go Year Round, Dr. Ryan Newman's book, is actually a website. I could either write it in the sentence this way, which is kind of the easiest way to do it. The website Go Year Round says on a year-round calendar, parents don't need to find 10 weeks of childcare, and that's it, I'm done. I don't need a parenthetical because I've already put the name of the website in the sentence, and there's no page number to even mess with. So I could do it that way, or if I wanted to make it a sentence with a parenthetical citation, I could say one benefit is that on a year-round calendar, parents don't need to find 10 weeks of childcare. No punctuation after childcare, close the quotation, space, and then the parenthetical contains just the word. I know I'm kind of cheating, this is 2 words, but it's one unit that is unique to this particular source. And I close my parentheses and I've got a period. Okay, so that is how it's done. Every single red line in your outline is a piece of data that you got from a source. And every single red line in your outline needs to attribute that fact to that source, whether it's done this way with the information in the sentence or whether it's done this way with an actual parenthetical citation. Okay? So here are your examples to refer back to. The title of the document is called Parenthetical Citations. It is available to you in Miss E's Examples. That is a folder I have shared with you. And if you need to, you can search for it in your search bar here and it will come up. So please use this document as you work on your outline. Okay? All right. Let me know if you have questions. Thanks, guys.